Please like this video. I really need your support right now. It's the only way this story can reach more people. Thank you so much for being here with me and for your support. I came home at 9:52 p.m. on a Tuesday expecting the usual. A dark hallway, the hum of the fridge, Lucas asleep with one sock missing, Haley pretending she wasn't still awake. Instead, the kitchen lights were on like an interrogation room. Lauren sat at the island in her workout clothes, hair pulled back, a glass of wine in front of her. Not messy, not emotional, just set, like she'd been waiting for a cue. She didn't ask how the new location was going. Didn't glance at the inventory sheets sticking out of my bag. She looked right through me and delivered it like a line from a script. We need to talk. I set my keys down and didn't sit. About what? She tapped a fingernail on the stem of the glass. About us. About what I need. Okay. I answered, calm, because after 14 hours of dealing with a miscounted shipment and a manager who thought close enough was a system, I didn't have much energy left for drama. What do you need? Freedom. Her voice didn't wobble. Space. I want to understand myself again. I waited. She leaned forward. I think we should open the marriage. There it was. No apology. No shame. Just a proposal, like she was suggesting we change internet providers. I stared at her for a second, not because I didn't hear her, but because I wanted to make sure I was looking at my wife and not some stranger wearing her face. Open, I repeated. Meaning what exactly? She shrugged like I was the one overcomplicating it. We keep our family, the kids, the house, the stability, but we're not limited. We can see other people if we want. Other men, I corrected. Her eyes narrowed a fraction. Other people. I let out a short laugh that had no humor in it. Lauren, don't do that. You didn't rehearse this speech to talk about people. Her jaw tightened. So you're going to act like I'm some kind of monster for being honest? Honest is when you tell me you're unhappy and we deal with it. This is you handing me a new rule book and acting like I'm supposed to clap. She leaned back, cold again. I'm not asking permission. I'm telling you what I need to be happy. That word, need, like I was a vending machine that owed her a product. I nodded once. Okay, then the rules change for both of us. She blinked. What does that mean? It means if you want the right to compare me to other men, I'll compare you to other women. I set my bag on the floor, slow and steady. You want freedom? You get equality. No special deals. Her face drained a shade. The wine glass froze halfway to her lips. That's not the point, she snapped. Oh, it's the whole point. I kept my voice even. You want me at home paying the mortgage, keeping the lights on, doing the dad schedule, while you find yourself in someone else's arms. And you want me grateful for the opportunity. Her nostrils flared. You're twisting it. I'm translating it. She stood up fast. So you're going to punish me? That's what this is. I raised an eyebrow. Punish? No. I'm going to protect myself. If you open that door, don't act shocked when it doesn't close. Her eyes flashed. You're being cruel. I slid my phone onto the counter and met her stare. Cruel is springing this on me at 10 at night like you're ordering takeout. Think hard, Lauren. Once you rewrite the marriage, you don't get to decide how the next chapter reads. She didn't answer. She just stood there like she was recalculating a plan that depended on me being softer than I am. I walked past her, up the stairs, and checked on Lucas. He was out cold. Haley's door was cracked, her light off. I didn't knock. I didn't need to. I could feel the house holding its breath. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have slept in my office that night and saved myself the headache. But I didn't. So I laid in bed next to Lauren's still body and listened to the quiet, realizing the quiet wasn't peace. It was setup. The next morning I moved like everything was normal. Because normal is a tool. I packed Lucas's lunch, made coffee, kissed his head, asked Haley about her day like I always did. Lauren floated through the kitchen in a way that felt staged. She was polite. She was distant. She watched me like I was a variable she didn't fully control anymore. On my way out, she called after me. We should keep this between us for now. The kids don't need to know. I stopped at the front door. The kids don't need chaos. That part we agree on. She exhaled, relieved, like she'd secured a safety net. At the shops, I did my rounds, checked the morning rush at 2 locations, dealt with a broken grinder at the 3rd, sat with my ops manager, Claire Bennett, at the new one. Claire's in her 30s, sharp, no nonsense, The kind of person who reads a spreadsheet like it's a story with villains and plot twists. She noticed something was off the minute I sat down. "You're quiet," she said, sliding a clipboard toward me. "That's not your default setting." I scanned the numbers. "Home stuff." She didn't pry. She just nodded like she'd seen enough adult mess to know questions don't always help. "Well, you've got a vendor trying to charge you twice for cups, so if you want a distraction, I've got one." "Perfect," I muttered. "Let's fight about paper." It was almost comforting. Problems you can solve. Numbers that behave if you force them to. I came home around 6:30. Lauren wasn't there. Lucas was with a neighbor, Mrs. Ortega, who watched him after school when my schedule got jammed. She handed him over with a look that said she'd noticed Lauren's absences too. "Everything all right, Mark?" she asked, soft. "Working on it," I replied. She squeezed Lucas's shoulder. "He's a good kid." "I know." Lauren walked in at 8:15, too smooth, keys in hand, hair looking like she'd refreshed it in the car mirror. She gave me a quick smile like she was doing customer service. "Traffic," she said. "In Denver." I glanced at the clock. Must have been a parade. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still here, please hit the like button. It really helps YouTube recommend this story to more people. Thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the story. Her eyes hardened for a second. Then she shrugged and went straight for her phone on the counter. She didn't hug Lucas. She didn't ask Haley how school was. She just grabbed the phone like it was oxygen. That was the first real signal, not the open marriage line. The phone, the way she guarded it. Later, when the house settled, Lauren took a shower. Her phone sat on the kitchen island, screen lit, unlocked. I stood there staring at it, feeling the split in myself. The man who built 4 coffee shops from scratch doesn't like cheap shortcuts. I don't like snooping. I like direct conversations and clean lines. But direct conversations require the other person to be direct. I picked it up. The messages were right there. A name at the top that hit me in the ribs like a bad surprise. Jake Madison. Jake, my best friend from college. The guy who stood next to me at my wedding. The guy who called my kids little monsters in the affectionate way. The guy who'd been at my table for Thanksgiving. My thumb moved before my brain caught up. Thursday. Can't wait. Last time was insane. Lauren's replies were short and eager, like she was 15 again. Mark's still at work. He won't be home till late. Then Jake. Need help with rent. I'm short again. Then Lauren. I sent it. Don't make it a thing. There were transfers, screenshots of confirmations, notes, dates, a pattern. I didn't read everything. I didn't need to. The shape of it was enough. This wasn't a new idea she'd bravely shared last night. This had been running. And it wasn't just running. It was funded. I took screenshots. Every thread. Every confirmation. I sent them to an email Lauren didn't know existed, then backed them up again. I didn't shake. I didn't pace. My hands were steady because anger doesn't have to be loud to be real. Upstairs, the shower shut off. I put the phone back exactly where it was, screen facing the same way. When Lauren came down, she smiled like nothing was wrong and poured herself more wine. "You look exhausted," she said. "I am," I replied, and it wasn't even a lie. She leaned on the counter. "Have you thought about what I said?" "I'm thinking," I answered. Her eyes searched mine for weakness, for guilt, for a crack she could use. I gave her nothing. That night, after she went to bed, I sat at my desk and opened my contacts. I didn't call Jake. Not yet. Calling him would have been emotional. It would have been loud. It would have been the kind of scene Lauren wanted me to make so she could paint me as unstable. I called someone else. David Harper, the voice said groggy. "My accountant. Good man. Dry humor. Precise." "David," I said. "It's Mark Dalton. I need a full review. Personal, joint, everything. Last 18 months. There was a pause. "That's a big request at midnight." "I know. You okay?" "I'm focused," I told him. "And I'm not asking twice." He exhaled. "All right. Tomorrow morning. Bring what you have." I hung up and stared at the wall, not sad, not confused, just clear. If Lauren wanted freedom, she was about to learn the adult version of it. Consequences. By Thursday, I was already in motion. David's office smelled like stale coffee and printer toner. He wore the same tie he always wore, like he'd made peace with being a numbers guy and never looked back. He flipped through my documents and glanced up. "You're not here because you're bored." No, I replied. He tapped his pen. What am I looking for? Anything leaving the family accounts that shouldn't. Anything weird. Transfers. Cash pulls. Checks. I kept my voice flat. And I want it clean. Dates. Totals. Names. David studied me for a second. You're not angry. That makes me more nervous. Don't be nervous, I said. Be thorough. He nodded once, like we'd just signed a silent contract. From David's office, I drove straight to a small building near downtown where Evelyn Grant worked. Family attorney. Sharp suit, sharper mind. Not warm, not cold. Professional like a scalpel. I laid out my phone and slid it toward her with a folder of printed screenshots. I need options. She scanned without reacting. How long have you been married? 18 years. Kids? 17 and 7. She nodded, then looked me dead in the eyes. You're going to want to talk. You're going to want to confront. Don't. I wasn't planning a shouting match, I said. Good, she replied. Because loud doesn't help you. Documentation helps you. She tapped the folder. This helps. Financial misuse helps. Especially if family funds were redirected in ways that affect the children. I leaned back. What do I do now? You stay calm, she said. You don't tip your hand. You gather a full financial picture. And you quietly prepare boundaries. Boundaries like what? Separate accounts. Adjust access. Protect the business. Her tone didn't soften. And don't drag the kids into adult strategy. Keep them safe. I nodded. I can do that. Before I left, she added, one more thing. People who propose new rules usually believe they're the only ones who'll benefit from them. When that belief cracks, they change tactics. Be ready. I almost smiled. I've run coffee shops through labor shortages and broken freezers. I'm familiar with changing tactics. That evening, I made my first move. I changed my direct deposits. Business revenue stayed insulated. I opened a separate personal account and redirected my own pay. The joint account became a bills-only channel with a fixed amount that covered the mortgage, utilities, kids' stuff, groceries. Nothing extra. No blank checks. Real adult boundaries. Not petty. Not dramatic. Just reality. When I walked in the door, Lauren was in the kitchen wearing a soft sweater she never wore on weekdays. There was food on the stove. My favorite. Homemade. The whole performance. She turned with a bright smile. Hi. I thought you deserved a real meal. I hung my jacket. Look at you. Domestic. She laughed lightly. Like we were flirting. I know I came in hot the other night. I'm sorry if it felt harsh. Felt harsh. I repeated, pulling out a chair. That's one way to put it. She placed a plate in front of me. I don't want us to fight. I want us to be partners. I took a bite, nodded, and kept my face neutral. Partners usually don't bring contracts to the kitchen at 10 p.m. Her smile strained. I'm trying. Good, I answered. Trying is nice. She sat across from me, knee angled toward mine like she was selling closeness. So, have you thought about it? I have. I chewed slowly. If we're changing the rules, then I'll be social too. Her eyes sharpened. Social how? I shrugged. Dinner. Conversations. Maybe I let someone see me as more than a walking ATM. Is this about that woman at work? Her voice got tight. Claire. I tilted my head. You know her name? Lauren's mouth opened, then closed. She recovered fast. You've mentioned her. I've mentioned half my staff over the years, I replied. You remembered that one. Her fingers curled around her fork. So you're threatening me? No, I corrected. I'm accepting your offer. Equal rules. She pushed her plate back. It's different. Of course it is, I said dry. Because when you do it, it's finding yourself. When I do it, it's a crisis. Her eyes flashed. You're doing this to hurt me. I set my fork down. Lauren, you pitched an open marriage like you were upgrading your phone plan. Don't act wounded when I read the fine print. She stood up, chair scraping. You don't even care about us anymore. I looked up at her. I care about respect. And right now, you're testing how little of it I'll accept. Her breath got shallow. So what now? I leaned back. Now I keep my schedule. I take care of the kids. I handle my work. And you decide whether you actually want a marriage or just the benefits package. She stared at me like she'd expected pleading, not policy. As I got up to check on Lucas, my phone buzzed with a notification from my bank. An attempt to transfer a large amount from the joint account. Declined. I didn't mention it. I just walked upstairs, leaving Lauren standing alone with a dinner she cooked like a bribe, realizing the house was starting to run on my rules again. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still here, please hit the like button. It really helps YouTube recommend this story to more people. Thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the story. And behind me, I heard her mutter under her breath. What did you do? 2 days later, Haley asked me to drive her to a friend's house after school. She sat in the passenger seat with her backpack hugged to her chest. Haley's always been smart, the kind of kid who notices a mood shift before you speak. She'd been quieter all week. Not teen moody, alert. Halfway there, she said, Dad. Yeah. Can I ask you something, and you won't freak out? I glanced at her. I don't freak out. I respond. She swallowed. Okay. Then, can I tell you something, and you won't blame me? I pulled into a parking lot instead of her friend's driveway. I put the car in park and looked at her fully. You can tell me anything, I said. Even if it's ugly. Especially if it's ugly. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. She held it in like she'd been holding it in for months. I heard Mom. Her voice shook just enough to make me want to break something, but I didn't. I heard her with Jake. The air in the car changed. Not because I didn't suspect it. Because hearing it from my daughter made it real in a way screenshots didn't. How long? I asked. 3 months, she whispered. Maybe more. I don't know. I came home early one day because my teacher got sick and they sent us home. You were at work. I kept my voice steady. Where were Lucas and your mom? Lucas was at Mrs. Ortega's. Mom thought I was still at school. Haley stared at her knees. I opened the front door and I heard voices upstairs. I thought it was you at first. She swallowed hard. It wasn't you. I nodded slowly. What did you do? I left, she said fast. I left and went to Mia's. Her mom didn't ask questions. She just gave me a soda and let me sit there. I took a slow breath. Did you tell your mom you knew? Haley's face tightened. She figured it out. That night she came into my room and sat on my bed like she was the victim of something. She flinched at her own word. She told me adults have complicated lives and that you wouldn't understand. She said if I told you, I'd destroy our family. My jaw tightened, but I kept it contained. She said Lucas would suffer, Haley continued. She said you wouldn't handle it and it would break you. She said it was partly your fault because you're always working and you don't make her feel seen. I stared out the windshield for a second, not because I was lost, but because I needed one beat to keep my voice from getting sharp around my daughter. Then I looked back at her. Listen to me. None of that is on you. You didn't create this. You didn't invite it. You don't carry it. Haley's shoulders dropped, like she'd been waiting for permission to breathe. I hate her for putting me in that. I know, I said. And you don't have to be the adult in this house. I am. She wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. What are you going to do? I'm going to protect you and Lucas, I answered. And I'm going to handle the grown-up mess without you being the shield. She nodded, shaky. Should I tell Mom I told you? No, I said immediately. Not yet. You keep your routine. School. Friends. Normal. Let me build the wall before she starts throwing rocks. Haley blinked. Build the wall. I gave her a thin smile. It means I'm putting things in place so she can't hurt you guys with money or chaos. You let me work. She nodded slowly. Okay. I drove her to Mia's after that. When she got out, she paused and looked back. Dad, yeah. Don't forgive her just because she cries. I held her gaze. I don't make decisions based on tears. When I pulled away, I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt something colder and clearer. My wife didn't just cross my line. She dragged my daughter over it and told her to keep smiling. That was the moment my brain stopped treating this like a marriage problem and started treating it like a protection problem. That night, after everyone was asleep, I looked at Jake's social media. He was posting like a guy who'd finally arrived. Fancy dinners. Weekend getaways. A new jacket that didn't match his paycheck. Tickets. Smiles that looked rented. I didn't need to label it. I just needed to see the math. Someone was paying for Jake's upgrade. And it wasn't Jake. The following week, Lauren changed again. She got bolder. It started with little digs. I'd come home, and she'd look at my shoes by the door like they offended her. You smell like espresso, she'd say. That's because I work, I'd reply. She'd roll her eyes. Yeah, you and your shops. Always your shops. Then it turned into demands. Haley needs money for a school thing. She told me one morning, standing in the doorway of my office like she owned it. and I need to put a deposit down on a studio package for a client. I'll pay for Haley's school thing, I said. Send me the details. And the studio deposit? You have income, I replied. Her face tightened. Not like you. You charge people for weddings. Don't act helpless. She scoffed. So now you're controlling money. I'm controlling access, I corrected. There's a difference. She stepped closer, voice lowering. You're doing this because you're scared. I looked up from my laptop. Scared of what? That you're not enough, she said, like she was dropping a truth bomb. I almost laughed. Lauren, if you wanted me to feel insecure, you picked the wrong guy. I've spent my life building things. I don't crumble because someone gets bored. She stared at me, anger simmering, then walked out without another word. 2 days later, she invited me to her studio. I have a client consult, she said. Too cheerful. I want you there. It'll mean a lot. It felt strange. Too sudden. Too sweet. But I went anyway, because I wanted to see what game she was playing on her turf. Her studio was bright and clean, staged like a magazine spread. Her assistant, a young woman named Tessa, greeted me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Hi, Mark, Tessa said. Lauren's been talking about you. That sounds safe, I replied. Lauren appeared in a fitted blazer, looking like she'd stepped out of a new life plan. She kissed my cheek lightly, like we were co-workers. Thanks for coming, she said. I thought it would be nice for the client to see we're a strong family brand. There it was. Brand. Not marriage. Brand. The client was a guy in his 30s with perfect teeth and a loud laugh. He shook my hand too hard. So you're the husband, he said. The money guy. Lauren laughed like it was a joke. He's definitely the business one. I didn't smile. I looked at her. I'm the one who keeps the lights on. Yes. She waved it off. Babe, relax. We're just having fun. Then, right in front of Tessa and the client, she added, he gets sensitive when he's tired. He's basically married to his coffee. The client chuckled. Tessa smirked. Lauren washed my face like she was waiting for me to snap, like she wanted the angry husband seen on her studio floor. I didn't give it to her. I stepped back and folded my arms. Good to know. Since we're doing public commentary now. Lauren's smile tightened. Mark, don't. I looked at the client. Quick heads up. If your package involves my personal accounts, it doesn't. Lauren runs her studio. I run my business. Separate. The client blinked. Sure. Lauren's eyes widened, then narrowed. We can talk about that later. No, I replied, still calm. We're talking about it now, since you like audiences. Tessa's smirk vanished. The client suddenly found his phone very interesting. Lauren lowered her voice, sharp. You're embarrassing me. I leaned in just enough for her to hear me clearly. You embarrassed yourself the second you turned me into a prop. I'm not here to protect your image while you disrespect me. Her face flushed. You're being ridiculous. I straightened and spoke like I was stating store hours. New rule. You don't speak about me like I'm a joke. Not here, not at home, not anywhere. If you can't handle that, you can practice your freedom alone. For a second, she looked like she might explode. Instead, she snapped a bright smile back onto her face for the client. So, anyway, let's talk about locations. I walked out. In my car, my phone buzzed. A message from Lauren. Why are you doing this to me? I didn't answer. That night, she shifted tactics again, hard. She came into the kitchen in a silky robe, hair down, voice soft. I hate fighting, she murmured. I miss us. I looked at her for a second, taking in the sudden warmth like a weather change that didn't match the forecast. Do you? I asked. Or do you miss control? Her smile flickered. I miss you. She stepped closer, touching my arm. Let's reset. Take a weekend. Just us. I'll make it right. It would have been easy to lean into it. To pretend the last month hadn't happened. To accept the comfort of her softness. I didn't. I slid my arm away gently. A weekend doesn't fix a pattern. Her eyes widened. So you're done. I'm not playing, I replied. That's different. She swallowed, then forced a small laugh. You're acting like I'm your enemy. You're acting like the rules don't apply to you. I shot back. That makes you a problem. Her face hardened. Fine. Be cold. I'm not cold, I replied. I'm clear. She stormed upstairs, and I let her go. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed again, this time from David. Got the full report. You need to sit down. I didn't call him back. I drove to his office the next morning before the sun was fully up. Because when a numbers guy says sit down, you sit down. David didn't waste time. He slid a printed packet across the desk, thick enough to stop a door. Your joint accounts, he said. 18 months. Transfers, cash pulls, checks. Most of them trace back to the same person. I didn't ask who. I already knew. David pointed. 47,000 in total, Mark. And that's conservative. Some of it's structured to look like normal spending. I stared at the number, not blinking. Keep going. He hesitated for the first time since I'd known him. That alone told me what was coming. The kids' education accounts, he said quietly. They are heavily reduced. My hand stayed flat on the desk. How reduced? David swallowed. About 32,000 withdrawn. For a second, the room went silent except for the faint buzz of his printer. I nodded slowly, like my brain was accepting a fact it already understood but didn't want to see in ink. David flipped another page. And there are large personal expenses tied to Lauren. Clothing, jewelry, procedures, and a significant payment to a clinic in Salt Lake City. I looked up. Salt Lake. He nodded. It's documented. The payment reference is clear. I sat back, the picture snapping into focus with disgusting clarity. The new wardrobe. This self-care. The refreshed face. It wasn't a personal journey. It was preparation. Paid for with my children's future. David leaned forward. I'm sorry. Don't be. I replied. Be accurate. He nodded. Everything's organized. Dates. Totals. Supporting statements. It's solid. I slid the packet into my bag and stood. Good. He watched me. What are you going to do? I met his eyes. I'm going to end the illusion. From David's office, I went straight to Evelyn. She read the report without flinching. When she finished, she closed the folder and looked at me. Now, she said, you set terms. I nodded. I want the kids protected. I want the house stable. I want my business untouched. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still here, please hit the like button. It really helps YouTube recommend this story to more people. Thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the story. And you want her to understand, Evelyn added, that she doesn't get to burn the foundation and still live in the house. Yes, I said. Exactly that. Evelyn slid a second folder toward me. These are prepared. Separation terms, custody framework, financial restrictions. You will not mention where you got information. You will not argue about feelings. You will present facts and decisions. I opened the folder and scanned it. Clean, clear, firm. I closed it. Tonight. Evelyn held my gaze. Make sure the kids aren't there. They won't be. That afternoon, I called Haley. Sleep at Mia's, I told her. No debate. She didn't ask questions. Okay. I called my mom and asked her to take Lucas overnight. She agreed instantly, like she'd been waiting for the call. By 7:30, the house was too quiet again. Lauren came in wearing a bright smile that didn't belong. Wow, she said, looking around. Where are the kids? With family, I replied. Sit down. Her smile faltered. Why? I placed a thick folder on the coffee table like I was setting down a bill. Lauren's eyes dropped to it, then back to me. What is that? Open it, I said. She didn't want to. You could see it. But curiosity and fear pushed her hand forward. She sat, flipped it open, and started turning pages. Her face changed in stages. Confusion, then recognition, then panic. What is this? She whispered. I stayed standing. It's the truth. Organized. She flipped to the printed messages and her throat tightened. Where did you get these? I didn't blink. Not important. Her fingers shook on the paper. Mark. I held up a hand. No. You wanted to talk. Here's the adult version. She swallowed hard. I can explain. You can try, I replied. But the dates won't change. She turned another page and stopped on the totals. 47,000. Her lips parted. This is not. It is, I cut in. And those are just the transfers. Her eyes darted. You're tracking me? I'm tracking my family's money, I corrected. Because someone had to. She flipped again and hit the education accounts. Her face went white. Oh my God, she breathed. Yeah, I replied. Oh my God is right. Tears formed fast now, like she'd finally remembered what emotions look like. I was going to put it back, she said quickly. I just needed time. I was stressed and you needed Salt Lake City, I added calm. Because finding yourself apparently required a clinic and a receipt. She flinched like I'd slapped her with a fact. Don't talk about me like that, she snapped, trying to grab control with anger. I tilted my head. Like what? Like someone who spent the kid's future on a personal upgrade. She stood up, shaking. You don't understand what it's been like. You're never home. You're always. I cut her off, voice flat. Stop. You don't get to make my work the excuse for your choices. She pointed at the folder. So what? You're going to ruin me. I'm going to remove you from my life's controls, I answered. That's what this is. I opened my own folder and pulled out the prepared documents. I set them on the table beside her stack of proof. Her eyes widened. What is that? That's the end, I said. This gets submitted tomorrow morning. You're not negotiating it in my living room. She grabbed the papers like she could crumple reality. You can't do this. I can, I replied. And I am. Her voice rose. Think about the kids. I nodded once. I did. That's why they're not here watching you panic. She started pacing, talking fast. We can fix this. I'll cut him off. I'll pay it back. I'll go to counseling. I'll do whatever you want. I watched her like I was watching a sales pitch. You're offering me a version of you that shows up only when you're losing. She spun toward me, eyes wild. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It went exactly as far as you pushed it, I replied. You just didn't expect me to move. She stopped and stared. What do you want from me? I answered with the same calm I used when firing someone who thought rules were optional. You're moving out of the master bedroom tonight. You'll stay in the guest room until arrangements are finalized. You will not touch the accounts. You will not speak to Haley about any of this. You will not put Lucas in the middle. And you will not contact my business or my staff. Her mouth dropped. You're controlling me. No, I corrected. I'm limiting damage. She whispered, Jake Hill. I raised an eyebrow. Hill what? Pay you back. Her face twisted. You're being cruel. I leaned forward slightly, voice low but steady. Lauren, you wanted freedom. Here it is. You just don't get to finance it with my life. She started crying now, loud, trying to flood the room with emotion like it was a weapon. I didn't move. She wiped her face and tried a new angle, softer. Mark, please. We've built a family. I nodded. We did. And you treated it like a backdrop. She stepped closer. Don't do this. I held up my hand again. This is the part you're going to hate. I'm not asking you for permission. Her eyes narrowed. So that's it. That's it, I confirmed. She stared at me for a long second, then spit out. You think you're better than me. I didn't smile. I didn't glare. I just delivered the line that ended it. I'm not better, I said. I'm just done being useful to someone who doesn't respect me. She stood there like she wanted another opening, another argument, another chance to twist me into the villain. There wasn't one. She walked upstairs slowly, like a person realizing the floor under them isn't theirs anymore. I stayed in the living room and texted my mom. Keep Lucas tomorrow too, just in case. Then I turned off the lights, locked the door, and slept like a man who finally stopped negotiating with a fire. 6 months later, my life is quieter in the best way. The house is still ours. The kids' routines are stable. Haley's back to laughing at dumb shows with me on the couch, and Lucas still asks for pancakes on Saturday like it's a law of nature. The education accounts are being rebuilt, slowly, deliberately, with transparency. My coffee shops are doing better than they were, because I'm not bleeding money into someone else's fantasy. Claire still runs ops like a machine, and now she jokes that my calm face should be company policy. David sends me clean reports every month. Evelyn keeps things structured and boring, which is exactly what you want when rebuilding peace. Lauren's freedom turned out to be expensive when it wasn't subsidized. Her studio lost momentum when she couldn't throw money at Image anymore. She moved into a smaller place across town. I hear about her in fragments, from mutual contacts, from the way Haley's expression changes when her mom calls, from the absence of that polished confidence she used to wear like armor. Jake isn't in my orbit, not in my phone, not in my house, not in my world. Some doors don't get reopened. As for me, I'm not sitting around licking wounds. I'm living. I bought a truck I actually like, I take the kids to the mountains on weekends, and I started seeing a woman named Renee, steady, grown, no games. She respects my time and my boundaries, and she doesn't confuse stability with entitlement. And the best part? When I walk into my kitchen now, The silence doesn't feel like setup. It feels like peace I paid for with clarity. And I don't miss the old noise at all.